Welcome to tonight's video on Unit 10, Part 3. We're going to be talking about arcs and chords. And one theorem says that in the same circle or in congruent circles, two minor arcs are congruent if and only if their corresponding chords are congruent. So arc FG and arc GH are congruent only if these two chords would be congruent. So for example, if you have a circular piece of jade is hung from a chain by two wires around the stone, JM is congruent to KL. The measure of arc KL is 90 degrees here. So then the measure of arc JM is also 90 degrees since the two chords are the same. In circle W, it has congruent chords of RS and TS. If the measure of arc RS is 85 degrees, then the measure of arc TV, this should say arc congruent chords RS and TV, then the measure of arc TV is 85 degrees. So for number 22, in figures, circle A is congruent to circle B, meaning those circles are the same. So that means arc WX is congruent to arc YX. It should be YZ. And it says find WX. Well, if WX and YZ are the same, that means 7x minus 2 is equal to 5x plus 6. Subtract 5x. Add 2, 2x equals 8, x equals 4. So to find WX, you would go 7 times 4 minus 2, 28 minus 2, which is 26. All right, so then it says if a diameter or radius of a circle is perpendicular to a chord, then it bisects the chord and its arc. So notice the diameter is perpendicular to chord XY here, so that means these two arcs and these two segments would be the same. And then it also says the perpendicular bisector of a chord is a diameter of the circle. So that means if you look at number 23, it says in circle G, the measure of arc DEF is 150. So see how there's a perpendicular bisector here. So that means this is 5. And then that means that both arcs would be 75 and 75. So that means the measure of arc DE is 75 degrees. In circle Z, the measure of arc WUX is 160. The measure of arc UX would then be 80 degrees. In number 25, in the circle below, QS is a diameter 14 inches long, and chord RT is 10 inches long. Find VU. So it says to find this right here. You know that RT is 14 inches long, so that means it's divided into 7 and 7. Let me get a different pen. You know that QS is 14 inches long, so that means any radius is 7. Sorry, so this is 5 and 5, not 7 and 7. Because RT is 10 inches long, so it's 5 and 5. So we want to find what x is, VU. So you can do the Pythagorean theorem, x squared plus 5 squared equals 7 squared. And then we'll solve for VU. So we get x squared plus 25 equals 49. So x squared equals 24. So x equals the square root of 24, which is approximately 2 rad 6 or 4.899 inches. Either one. All right, so the next one says in the same circle or in congruent circles, two chords are congruent if and only if they're equidistant from the center, meaning that the distance, the perpendicular segments are the same. So for example, in circle P, EF and GH are both 24, so that means they have to be equidistant from the circle, which means these two are the same. So 4x minus 3 has to equal 2x plus 3. Add 3. So 2x equals 6, x equals 3, and then PQ is equal to 9. All right, so 27, MN and PO are the same, so that means 3x minus 6 has to equal x plus 8. So 2x minus 6 equals 8. Add 6, so you get 2x equals 14. X equals 7. And then to find RS, RS is equal to 7 plus 8, which is 15. The radius of circle R is 35. The measure of arc LM is 80. LM, the chord is 45, which means you have 22 and a half and 22 and a half. LM is congruent to NO, so that means this arc is 80, and you have 22 and a half, 22 and a half. So it says to find, it says the radius is 35. So we'll use that in a second. So it says find NO. Well, NO is gonna, the arc NO is gonna be 80 degrees as well, because it's equal to LM. It says to find the measure of the arc NQ. Well, NQ is half of 80, which is 40. It says to find NO. Well, NO is going to be equal to LM, which is 45. To find NT, NT is half of 45, which is 22 and a half. And RT, well, now RT is where we're going to have to do some work, because NR is a radius, and that's 35. And RT, we're going to have to do the Pythagorean theorem. So x squared plus 22 and a half squared equals 35 squared. And so when we square 22 and a half, we get x squared equals 718, 718.75, and then when you take the square root, it's equal to 26.810. So that is what RT is equal to, 26.810. All right, so that concludes our video on Unit 10, Part 3. Part 4 coming up next.